What's going on? Welcome to the Wildcast podcast. I am Justin Spears. Here's my guy, Michael Lev, senior writer and columnist for Tucson.com. We are brought to you by Pima Federal Credit Union. Shout out to Pima Federal Credit Union for supporting the podcast. Whether you're saving your first car, buying a home, or growing your business, Pima Federal puts your goals first. Pima Federal offers personalized solutions, competitive rates, and expert guidance every step of the way, because at Pima Federal, banking isn't just about money, it is about you. Learn more at pimafederal.org. Lev, it's good to see you, man. We got lots to talk about right here on the Wildcast podcast. We'll be discussing the NFL draft coming up here in just a little bit. It was a very big year for the Arizona Wildcats, tying an NFL draft record. You know, actually, Lev, we'll transition from spring ball into the mailbag. Let's just start off right there. I mean,
the draft, sure. Yeah.
The NFL draft took place last week in Pittsburgh, and 4 Arizona Wildcats heard their names called. Now, we, heard throughout the week that Michael Dansby, was getting interest from some teams that have staff members who are very familiar with the Arizona coaching staff. One of them being the Detroit Lions with Dave Phipp, who's, a guy who coached under Dick Tomey, has coached alongside Brent Brennan. The two actually were back-to-back in a very small closet cutting up tape.
I don't think Brent used the term back-to-back, but you get the idea.
Yes.
He said he might have been a little more colorful in how he described that situation. But
those guys were cutting teeth, man, and cutting up film, and they worked together. And Dave Phipp, being, the special teams coordinator for the Detroit Lions, he said, "Hey, I've got my eye on that Michael Dansby guy, because, he looks like a really good special teams player, if anything." And they looked at his special teams film going back to his San Jose State days. So they had their eyes on Michael Dansby,
and then what happened?
The Seattle Seahawks said, "That's ours." So Michael Dansby was picked up in the 7th round, and that was, really the cherry on top of a big year for Arizona, because the 3 guys that we all expected to get drafted got drafted in the top 4 rounds. Genesis Smith was drafted in the 2nd round by the Las Vegas Raiders. Genesis Smith in the 4th round, drafted by my Los Angeles Chargers. I'm so excited that Genesis Smith is going to learn from guys like Derwin James and Tony Jefferson. Like, talk about some really good veterans to mentor Genesis in his first year or so. And then Dalton Johnson going to Las Vegas with his buddies, Traydon Stukes. I mean, these guys have been teammates at Arizona for the last 5 years, and now they're going to be teammates to begin their NFL journey. So I think that is really cool. Such a special thing for all those guys. And like I said, man, Arizona tying the NFL draft record for most defensive backs drafted by one school says a lot about the players that Arizona has produced. And Lev, if you look at, the 2023 Alamo Bowl team, the team that had Jacob Cowing and Tanner McLaughlin and Jordan Morgan and Tetairoa McMillan, like, we're talking about a dozen draft picks, which is crazy. And that also includes the guys from Washington, like Ephesians Prysock and Jonah Coleman and Takario Davis. So there's just, I mean, I know this is kind of a long-winded answer, Lev, but just like, I look at this year and the last few years, and it says a lot about Jed Fish and what he built at Arizona. It says a lot about Brent Brennan and his staff for developing. And Arizona football, I would say, is in a pretty good shape, and is in pretty good shape because, this, covering the beat for many years. I mean, there have been years where we're like, is anybody from Arizona going to get drafted? And for all these guys from Arizona to get drafted and be drafted so high says a lot about the quality of players that have been through this program.
Yeah, if you're an Arizona football fan and you have watched this unfold over the last few years, you just have to be saying to yourself, like, thank God, because it was an absolute NFL draft wasteland here for a long time. Several seasons where nobody was picked. And if anybody was picked, it was day 3, right?
Yeah.
5th round, 6th round, 7th round, which, is great for those guys, but not the same as having a 1st rounder or having a high 2nd rounder like Traydon Stukes was this year. So that is a great sign for the program. I think it's super important in any day and age, whether pre-NIL and transfer portal or during this NIL and transfer portal era. Everybody thinks when they step foot on campus for the first time that they're going to the league. So you have to create some sort of legitimate belief that that's possible. Like, hey, we
Yeah.
can develop you into an NFL player. And man, if you're a defensive back out there and you're debating between Arizona and another school, like, why wouldn't you come here?
Yep.
Like, look what just happened. Like, almost the entire secondary got picked, right? And if Javion Cole has a good year this year, he might get picked next year, right?
Yep.
So you're basically talking about like the entire starting unit going to the NFL, which, maybe that sort of thing happens at LSU or Ohio State or Michigan, but sure hasn't happened at a place like Arizona in a long time, if not ever.
Yeah, first time that Arizona's had 4 defensive backs ever drafted in one class.
Mm-hmm.
First time that Arizona's had a defensive back drafted, period, since your guy Dane Cruikshank from the Kevin Sumlin / Rich Rod era. And the highest draft pick by defensive back coming out of Arizona since Antoine Cason in 2008. So definitely, quality players being sent out to the league. And, I'm really excited about Stooks's next chapter because I think the things that he has had to overcome in the last 6 years, dealing with the multiple defensive coordinators, the multiple defensive back coaches, like he said that in Dalton Johnson too, that learning from all of those voices helped him become a better player. And when they were looking at film of all the defenses that are in the NFL, they were very familiar with all of them because of all the different styles of defenses that they've been a part of at Arizona. And I mean, going from walk on to high second round pick, man, it's just unbelievable to see what Stooks has had to overcome. And I think that his length and just kind of who he is, his football IQ, his versatility, he's going to translate well to the NFL. Even if he has like a Robert Golden type of career who, played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, was a really good defensive back at Arizona, could play safety and cornerback, was a very versatile defensive back, but he was a special teams captain for the Pittsburgh Steelers and he's revered by the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base. And I think Stooks, he could have a similar career or maybe better and, really be a mainstay in the defensive secondary, wherever he plays.
Yeah, smart, versatile, tough, and a really good athlete to boot. Like he tested really well, which we thought would be the case. Very nice that the Raiders also picked his best friend, Dalton Johnson. So should be a pretty easy, like kind of roommate situation for those two. Maybe
just don't have too much fun in Vegas.
I think we know those guys well enough to say that they will take this very seriously.
For sure.
Right. I mean, those guys are all business. They're both like super laid back dudes, even though one is from Arizona, one is from Texas. Like similar vibes.
Yeah.
When you're around them, right? They're smart, they're thoughtful, they're realistic, they're hard workers, high character guys. So yeah, great job by the Raiders, picking up both of them and solidifying their secondary, boosting their special teams. Your Chargers going for Genesis Smith. I'm sure it was a disappointment for Genesis in his camp to go as late as he did. They probably thought they were going to go more late 3rd round than late 4th round. Is it that big of a difference? In the grand scheme of things, maybe not. But I think it's actually a good landing spot. If you mentioned Tony Jefferson earlier, who's been a kind of part-time starter for them, sort of a mainstay. I mean, he's 34 years old.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he's coming to the end of his career. There aren't a lot of defensive backs out there, playing into their mid-30s. So that'll be a really good guy for Genesis to learn from. Derwin James, of course, one of the best safeties in the NFL. Another guy that Genesis can learn from, and great head coach too. Yep. And Jim Harbaugh, who's a stickler for fundamental football. If Genesis, one of the critiques of him was that his tackling wasn't always the best here. I mean, I think if he slacks off in that area at all, like he's going to hear from the head coach.
Yep.
Like, he's not gonna stand for that. So nice landing spot for him, even though, like I said, it was probably later than he hoped. Are you going to get yourself a Smith jersey, or is it just sort of like that name, like kind of a little too generic? Maybe people don't necessarily even know who that is. It just says Smith.
Smith number 12 if he gets the number 12 jersey. I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about getting like a powder blue, like a jersey, right? Not a
Okay.
full
All right.
on jersey, right? Not
Mhm.
going to drop $140 or whatever the NFL jerseys are nowadays. I might just spend $40 or $30 on a jersey, powder blue, of course.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, of course. You can't go wrong with those colors. That uniform, it's just beautiful.
Except all yellow.
Well, yes, just let's not do that again.
The Savannah Bananas.
We don't need that. So yeah, really good draft. There were a few guys who signed as undrafted free agents too. A couple who haven't yet that I'm aware. Ty Buchanan has not signed with anybody that you're aware of. Cameron Barmore has not either.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
We'll see. There still might be time for those guys to at least get a chance of some sort.
Yeah, Max Harris is going to the Broncos.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh nice.
Yeah, signed going to the Broncos mini camp. Even some of the former guys, Jacob Rich Kangaika, remember that guy?
Sure.
Played at ASU. He's going to the Chiefs rookie mini camp.
Okay.
And then the Tampa Bay Wildcats, Riley Wilson, Deshaun McKnight, Aiden Garnes, they'll be going out to Tampa's.
Oh, Riley Wilson.
He's
got to deal with the Bucs too. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking, when there were those hot rumors for a minute that Traden was going to be picked by the Chiefs at 29.
Yeah.
I started going through like in my head, like, wait a minute, did he play with Christian Roland Wallace?
Oh,
pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
Pretty sure there was crossover between those two. So that, could have been.
Man, what could have been?
Yeah.
Kind of DeCambra, center, going to Arizona Cardinals. Luke Weissong going to the Minnesota Vikings, which I think is a really good landing spot for him. Yeah, that's it for the notable big names, right? Am I missing anybody?
I don't think so.
Ismail Mahdi, he didn't sign anywhere?
Not that I've seen.
Oh, man.
No, it's tough. Running back is tough.
Yeah.
There's more supply than there is demand at that position. So there's only so many spots. They only dress 3 on game day, whereas in college, you're liable to dress 5?
Yeah.
Maybe even 6. There's also 4 times as many teams. So just think about that math.
Yeah.
Right there, right? Let's say they're dressing 5. It's about 600 running backs in a given year who are dressing for college teams, who are all pretty good. And
a lot of backs.
And then you're down to like 96. And a lot of those are veterans. It's not like there's 96 openings. There might be like 15 openings. So
yeah,
that's a difficult position.
Yep. All right. Well, good NFL draft for Arizona. Now transitioning over to Arizona spring football. All right, Lev. So spring showcase was this past weekend, and it was a very festive evening. Several, or I would say maybe 3,000 to 5,000 people were there. Is that a fair number, or is it less?
I have no earthly idea. It seemed like the east side stands were fairly full, the lower east side stands.
Yeah.
And there were also people on the field, so it was hard to tell. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did not go down to the field and kind of look back. I was sitting in the stands, so I couldn't really tell, but I felt like it was a good turnout.
It was a solid turnout.
And it was a good event. Did Brent ever address the crowd?
No.
See, I feel like that would be a good maybe addition to the program.
Yeah.
Next year, something to that effect, or even like the quarterback or whoever, like just acknowledging the fans in a direct way. Because
Tucson, what's good?
Yeah, exactly. Mackenzie Hamilton was over. She was over on the stage, giving certain announcements and so forth. It was a little hard to hear.
Yeah,
and it's not this. It's not the same as like the head football coach standing there in front of the crowd. Or whatever. Here's another.
Hey, Lev, they're working on that speaker system.
That's true. No, that's true. That would be needed. I would say here's another idea for the showcase. Maybe have the band involved.
Yeah.
I don't know if the time of year is off because maybe like the senior band members are done and they haven't brought in like the new band members, but that might be a nice touch too.
I was going to say, maybe you could do like the final send off for the seniors. I know they have senior day and everything, but like, hey, you guys are about to graduate. Let's, you guys don't have to wear the full uniforms. We can wear just like t-shirts or whatever, t-shirts and shorts, but all match and have fun at the spring showcase.
Hey, do you want to use this email as maybe a launching point for our spring football discussion? That one that I was telling you about?
Yeah. Yeah.
That way we can kind of go through each position.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to dive.
Justin, I lost your audio, Justin.
All right. Sorry. We're back.
Yeah.
We're back. Sorry. All right. So no, we're going to answer a few mailbag questions, but the one that Lev has, it's going to be a very in-depth
conversation. Well, that's what everyone's here for, right?
Yes, sir.
This is our job. Okay.
All right, Lev.
This is from our guy Huck Kwan. Emailed me and said, "Hello, I think it would be great if next week you and Spears could do a post-spring football depth chart based on your observations and any insights the coaches have shared with you. Thank you for your email, Huck. Let's do it, Justin. Well, you give your ideas for the depth chart, and then we'll discuss each position.
Well, by the way, I met Huck in Indianapolis.
Oh,
awesome dude!
Nice.
Love that guy. It was nice chatting with him in the hallways of the Indianapolis Convention Center. But
outstanding.
But yeah, no, I just think that when we look at the overall team, it's important to understand that there are multiple guys who are banged up and limited this spring. So we really didn't get a chance to see Arizona with the cupboards full, right? There was just a few missing pieces. One of them being, or two of them in the defensive secondary, and guys who I think are going to be contributors, like mainstays in Arizona's defense this upcoming season, is Dalen Austin, the safety nickel transfer from Oregon. I would imagine he's going to be one of your, safeties in that mix. And then Cam Chappa, who was just a stud at the FCS level. I mean, when you talk to FCS coaches right now, they know all about Cam Chappa because he was one of the defensive backs at that level a year ago, or really the last 2 years. So you bring in a uber productive FCS guy, and history shows recent years that Arizona has done well in the FCS market, right? Look at Riley Wilson, look at Javon Watley, look at Deshaun McKnight. I mean, they've added some really good players from that level. So I think that Cam Chappa, when he's healthy, is going to be a really good player. And then, Tristan Bounds, coming back to right tackle. I'm excited to see what that's going to look like. There's just a few missing pieces. Javion Cole was limited this spring, so we really didn't get to see him at cornerback. And then so was Tyler Powell at tight end, a guy who suffered a really bad knee injury the first play from scrimmage in Arizona's season opener. Yeah. But, the good news is for Arizona, the silver lining to all of this is like those guys don't chew up reps during the spring. So those reps that usually go to those players are now going to players that Arizona, they might need at some point this season, or guys that really need that experience, and allows Arizona's coaches to see what they got and see if the guys are really this talented. And Brent Brennan said at the start of the spring gives you an idea of what the depth chart is going to look like. I think we both know what the depth chart is going to look like, but there's still some pieces missing, and then we'll know the full answer really, a couple weeks before the season.
Yeah, so keep that in mind as we go through each position, that not everybody participated in spring. There's also going to be a handful of arrivals in June, guys who were not able to enroll early. I think we know who QB1 is, Justin. For sure. There's no big mystery about that. Noah Fafita. Who do you like for QB2?
QB2, this one's interesting because the 4-star quarterback, Oscar Rios, was out with a labrum injury, got his shoulder, worked on, something
left shoulder,
non-throwing. Yep. So that's very important. And, I think that getting that shoulder surgery and then allowing him to build up his frame over the next year in the weight room and be a part of the strength and conditioning program, I think is going to be really good for him. So if I were to take a wild guess, now things could change in preseason training camp, right? Oscar Rios could just be an absolute baller. I think he is a really good quarterback. But I think learning from Noah and learning from the other guys there, I think will just benefit him. And then next year he could be in that mix to maybe start for the Wildcats. So I look at the two guys that got the reps, Luke Haugo and Sawyer Anderson. And Luke Haugo was kind of a surprise. We were talking about maybe QB2 being Sawyer Anderson or Oscar Rios. And I mean, Luke Haugo stepped in and said, "Hey, I'm here too, man. I've been here since a year ago, and I've learned." And he's also a bigger bodied quarterback, so he's a little bit different than Sawyer and Noah. So I think for QB2, if I were to take a guess for right now, because of his ability to run, and he showed it in the spring, I would say it's probably going to be Sawyer Anderson, who I call Baby Daggy, and then Luke Haugo is like QB2A, right? And so Noah, Sawyer Anderson, Luke Haugo, and Oscar Rios also right there in that mix. But those three guys will all be competing for QB1 next year. So,
yes, Oscar Rios, he needs to add weight
for sure.
Big time. I don't know if the injury it probably has impacted his ability to lift, but once he's cleared, he needs to get in the weight room and get bigger because he's just not bulky enough to hold up as a college quarterback. This is someone who also likes to run at times. So, he's going to have to build up his body, among other things. This looks probably like a redshirt year, assuming that redshirt years still exist. By the time the season starts, which they might not, it might just be the 5 for 5 kind of thing. And it's just, I don't even know what we'll call it at that point. The red shirt might not be a term that's used anymore, interestingly enough. I agree. I think Sawyer Anderson probably has a slight edge. He's more similar in style and stature to Noah Fafita, a handpicked guy brought in by Seth Dagey. Had some, ups and downs, I would say, during spring ball. One particularly bad day I can recall, but rebounded from it pretty well. And Luke Haugo showed a little something, right? Like he can be functional in this. He's a little, like you said, he's a little bigger, so everything's like a little bit slower. I would like to see, how he will fare with the pass rush.
Yeah.
Because it's different, right? It's different when you can get hit or the pocket is legitimately collapsing on you. But yeah, I think you got that right.
All right. Now down to running backs. So
top two that we think did not participate in spring ball.
Yeah. Kedrick Reesano, Quincy Craig, and Ked Zone, as Michael Lev nicknamed him, was a really good red zone target or a really good red zone option for Arizona last year. And then Quincy Craig, really came on strong last year. Had some impressive plays. I go back to that game against Kansas where he had that receiving touchdown. Then he had that really big run to win the game. I think he is.
And that catch against ASU to put the game away.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Quincy Craig, he had a really good year last year. Same with Kedrick Reesano when those guys were healthy, and I think that resting and allowing the other running backs to get some of those reps in the spring is really good for them. And the running backs that we saw, Antoine Roberts, the transfer from Marshall, who's a veteran running back that is going to be right there in that mix behind those two guys, and then Cornelius Warren and Wesley Yarbrough, who were freshmen a year ago, and both different style running backs. Corn is more, twitchy and smaller, and I think more like a JJ Taylor type of running back, where Wesley Yarbrough is more like a Kedrick Reesano kind of running back, where he is just very big. He's going to run right through you, but he's also shifty too, and he made a couple of plays in the passing game too. And 7-on-7 also during the team period. So
sure did.
And Wesley is a guy that Brennan said is really underrated and a guy that, should be getting talked about more. So if I were to guess running backs, Kedrick Reesano, Quincy Craig, Antoine Roberts, Wesley Yarbrough, Cornelius Warren. Am I missing anybody? Anthony Wilhite.
I'm going to say that Wesley Yarbrough becomes the number 3.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think there's just the upside is greater. This is, assuming that he's able to execute all of his assignments. Antoine Roberts is someone that was brought in from Marshall, right?
Yep.
So there's some familiarity with Seth Dagey's system. They lost a commitment. They had to bring someone in. he to me is like, he's the kind of the safety net, like, hey, we can plug this guy in. We know he knows the system. He won't make mistakes. But I think, upside wise, that Wesley's got a little bit more there. I think there's still a lot more meat on the bone with Kedrick Reesino, because he was injured for much of last season.
Yeah.
And played through it. I think it was a toe, I think.
Yeah, foot
and
stuff.
That can really have like a big impact on you as a running back. Quincy Craig was banged up during the season as well. Just goes to show you that you need multiple guys. But I'll say Ked ends up being the starter. Quincy's like your third down back, and Wesley is the one who's moves up to number 3 and is kind of waiting in the wings.
All right, now we're down to wide receivers. This is interesting, Lev, because I think top 3, Trey Spivey is your number 1 guy.
Okay.
Number 2, Giovanni Richardson.
Yep.
Number 3, Chris Hunter.
Agreed all around. Yep.
And then this is where it gets interesting, because now you've got, rising players like Isaiah Mizell. Is he going to end up becoming the number 4 guy? I mean, he has been anointed last year and this year as the fastest guy on the team,
but got banged up and missed a bunch of time in spring. So kind of TBD on that.
Jordan Ross, the transfer from Colorado State, is really good. DJ Jordan made some really good plays deep down the field, took the top off the defenses a couple of times. It was shown on film by Danny Gonzalez in one of our media sessions. One of the plays that he made, and Danny scolded me for my commentary on it. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate those film breakdowns so much. They're a lot of fun. I wish our listeners and readers could sit in on those, because they're just so informative. But anyways,
Danny's biased toward the defense, obviously. So
yes,
just keep that in mind. He's always going to be pro defense.
Yeah.
DJ Jordan, Jordan Ross, Rodney Gallagher, guy brought in on the portal, right? They talked up Brandon Phelps a lot coming into the spring, but he didn't participate. So again, I would put him in that TBD category.
Brennan said he got hurt.
Yeah.
So when he gets back healthy, he's going to be really good, because they were like, oh, he won the winter. He was testing better than everybody, was just dominating. And then we didn't really see him. So like you said, Lev, TBD for Brandon Phelps. Brennan said that they can go 8 deep at wide receiver. Do you think that is realistic? Because last year their sweet spot was 6, and even 6, you're really, playing 4-ish guys, right?
No, I don't. I mean, I think he meant that there's 8 guys that they would feel okay about playing, right? That they feel good about. But 6 is a more realistic number. And really, I mean, there's 2 basic formations that they use, right? One is 3 wideouts, 1 tight end, 1 running back. The other is 2 wideouts, 2 tight ends, and 1 running back. So really, you've got essentially 2.5 starters at wide receiver. If you figure, those personnel groupings are used 50% of the time each, which is probably not true, but let's just go with that. So really, probably like if you go 2 deep off of 2.5, that's 5 receivers who are really like your main dudes. I think I was super impressed with DJ Jordan during spring. Showed a lot of playmaking ability. He was a pretty big time recruit coming out of high school. So this could be a good spot for him to emerge and to start fulfilling some of that potential. So I think he's going to be in that second team bucket for sure.
What's his jersey number?
Oh, he's wearing number 4, isn't he? Yeah, hey, if you wear number 4, that's the one who's caught the most passes each of the last 2 years. So, of course, Tetero McMillan, and then Chris Hudson, now DJ Jordan. Maybe someday that number will be retired. We'll see. Isaiah Mizell, I mean, I love the potential there, but he's still light, and he still has a lot to prove to me. Like, I would like to think that he'll be in that mix, but I'm not sure. And it might be, one of the transfers.
Yeah.
One of the other transfers instead who ends up being in there. So I don't know. I don't have a real definitive, like, who those next 3 guys are, other than I think DJ Jordan for sure is in that.
And Gallagher.
You think Gallagher?
I
Okay.
think Gallagher's going to be that guy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Gallagher.
He's a pure slot. He's a slot / gadget
yeah,
type of player. Yeah.
a lot of motion,
He's
jet
the Y
sweeps.
song of this year.
He's the Y song of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he'll also be your punt returner too.
Okay.
Okay, so tight end. Probably
Clear number one to me.
Cole Rusk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt about it. Great camp. Like, phenomenal. I called him plug and play.
Yep.
In my column, which people should check out, is 10 observations on spring football. Like, no, it seemed like there was just like no learning curve at all. Like, it was just like, I'm in the offense and I'm going to just catch a gazillion balls from Noah Fafita. And somehow Noah and I have chemistry, even though we've only been together for a few months. I think that's, when you're talking about a 6th-year guy who's been around a lot of different systems and so forth, like, this is essentially you're bringing in a pro. And he's going to be that guy. Not a lot of downfield stuff, but hey, man, someone who can move the chains, catch the ball in traffic. Blocking, I have no idea at this point because they weren't really doing a lot of that. But he, to me, is the clear number one.
I'm curious to see how many third down catches he makes this year. 3rd and 6. and he gets you 10 yards.
Yeah, I said, what I wrote about him was like, look at Cameron Barmore's game log from last year. He had 19 total catches, but 17 came in the last 7 games and 8 came in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like the type of production you'd like to see out of your number one tight end in this system. I mean, if he averaged 4 catches a game, that would be like 48 over the season. That might be a little high, but I think it's within the realm. If what we saw in spring is any sort of indicator of what's to come.
Number 2, Tyler Powell.
Assuming that he recovers fully from his injury, I would say yes, he'd be the number 2. And the injury happened on the first game of the season.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of runway there. It's not like Jordan Morgan was able to come back in game 2, I want to say, after his ACL.
Mm-hmm.
But that was suffered late in the year.
Yeah.
And then everyone's bodies are different, but the fact that it was like early September, I think helps.
Yeah.
And he was going to be, tight end 1 or 2 last year. Someone that they really like who is emerging. So assuming that there's no setbacks, that would be my number 2.
What about tight end number 3? Because you could go Arthur Ban, the transfer from San Diego State. Do one of the babies emerge? And the babies are Henry Gabalis, who's a 4-star tight end from Seattle. Also Shane King, who is really light on his feet and is a really good route runner. And I think has the speed to excel at the tight end position. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to, be that next tight end in line after, Tyler Powell.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's 2 categories. One is like, if one of those top guys was unavailable, who's like actually playing tight end in 2 tight end sets. The other bucket is if they go to a jumbo package and bring in a 3rd tight end to block, who's that guy?
Arthur
right?
Ban.
Those might be different people.
Yeah.
In theory, right? And they did use like a jumbo package last year. I think it was like 7 offensive linemen.
Yep.
Right. It was part of that deal. And they had Caden Luke last year, who's not with the team anymore. So
Big Red
could be someone that they look at as a, kind of an H-back or fullback in those sets. A little bit under center this spring. So there's some different looks, some different possibilities. I'd say it's going to be either one of those 2 guys, Shane King or Arthur Ban as the number 3. Henry Gabalis, do we say, or Gabalis? Did we ever get an official pronunciation?
Oh, no. I say Gabalis.
You say Gabalis? Okay. You say Gabalis. I say Gabalis. Whichever the case, they love his athleticism. They love his frame. He just has a learning curve, right? I think, didn't Daggy say he came from a wing T offense in high school? So learning curve there. I'm going to put him in that Oscar Rios, maybe red shirt, quote unquote, bucket for this year. And Kellen Ford, I don't know what to make of him. He got hurt last year, someone that they really liked. He's got to work his way up, and there's a lot of competition in that room. So I put him and Ford and Henry, I would put in that kind of that third tier behind the two transfers, Ban and King.
All right, now everyone's favorite portion, the offensive line. At center, the man in the middle, Zachary Henning, the transfer from Washington.
Yep.
And I will say the backup will probably be Grayson Stovall because he's a veteran, a guy who's been there for a long time. But I will say this, next year, Javion Gu from Hawaii could very well step into that center spot. He's been taking some reps at that spot. And Grayson Stovall's graduating after this upcoming season. So Javion Gu looks like he might be your successor at center.
Hopefully no goo on his hands while he's snapping.
The snap.
We don't want that. Yeah.
But at right guard, you got Alexander Deuce, who's, he's going to be your rock star, the guy that's the mainstay at right guard.
Kind of Mr. Reliable.
Yeah. A guy that you can count on. And he's probably one of the strongest offensive linemen that they have, if not the strongest. Right tackle, or actually, behind Alexander Deuce, who is it going to be? What, Isaac Perez?
Based on just them rolling in 2 units, it seemed like the case.
Yeah.
But you never know in a game. There might be someone that they designate as kind of like the third guard who can play either side.
Yeah.
Right. And if that's the case, one of the 2 Griffin brothers, possibly?
Yeah, Jake Griffin. Yeah, from BYU.
Okay. Was he the one who was playing inside?
Yeah, he was the one that was playing inside. Okay. Jackson was playing
tackle.
Tackle, yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know, they brought in Jake, his older brother, as a transfer who had been at BYU, correct?
Did a mission.
The two of them lined up next to each other throughout camp with the second team offensive line. So kind of cool.
Brotherly love, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really the 2s right there on that right side. And then at right tackle, Tristan Bounds, assuming he's going to come back, be your starting right tackle. And they really like Louis Akpa, who is a redshirt freshman from the Bay Area. I was looking this up, Lev, because this was one of my 3 burning questions for the offseason is, how is Arizona's depth at tackle going to look like? And Louis Akpa, do you know how much he weighed when he signed to Arizona?
I thought they said 280, but maybe it was less. Was it 280?
Well, his 24/7 profile had him at 260.
Okay. All right.
So he signed at 260, and now he is 1 pound shy of 300. He's at 299. So since he has, been a high school senior, he has gained 40 pounds. And when he first got to Arizona, he was, kind of like that typical freshman tackle where you're just almost like a string bean compared to the other guys. And he just got obliterated. He got abused practice after practice, but he kept showing up and he kept getting up and lining back up again. And he just took the abuse, but he used it to his advantage, got bigger in the weight room, added some good weight. And now since he's added some good weight, he's able to get some good reps. So they really like Louis Akpa. They think he's just a relentless guy out there playing tackle. And I think, learning from Tristan Bounds over the next year is going to be really good for him. And it should give him a nice launching pad into the 2027 season.
Yeah. One of the best parts about being able to bring Tristan Bounds back, they won a waiver appeal to get him a 6th year, is that you don't have to rush Louis Akpa into the lineup, right? He can be a backup or a swing tackle or a just in case guy.
Yeah.
Because offensive line's super hard. It is really hard for young players to break through and play well. Like you said, he's been building up his body to get strong enough to hold up. So assuming, no setbacks, all systems go, Tristan Bounds back at right tackle after a really promising year. I was looking at his PFF grades for whatever they're worth, and he was very consistent over the course of the season after once he settled in at that right tackle spot. So that's nice.
Left side of the line, Rhino Tapatotai moving inside to left guard, I think is just a good move. It's a good move for Arizona, good move for Tapatotai. I think for Rhino, this will be, a position that he will excel in when he goes and plays in the National Football League. So I think great move to move him inside to guard. The older Griffin bro will probably be his backup. And then left tackle, this is where it gets really interesting because Matthew Lotto, he did show some good stuff last year when he stepped in for Tristan Bounds. But, there's also been some moments where you're like, oh, okay, there's still some growth there. He's still developing and growing as a player. But another guy like Louis Akpa grew into his body. And I think the game reps that he got a year ago gave him the confidence that he can play at this level. And so he's going to be a developing player. There's going to be some bad moments, but I think, when it's all said and done, Matthew Lotto, he could very well turn into a very reliable left tackle for the Wildcats. So I look at Lotto and then the redshirt freshman Jackson Griffin as the backup left tackle. But then, there's also these freshmen that are coming in, Lev, and I'm excited to see these guys. Malachi Joyner, who is a very athletic tackle. He could definitely build up his frame a little bit, but, they really like him. And then Justin Morales, he's, over 300 pounds. So he's ready to go and he could, very well play. And he's a 4-star prospect. So, I think it's safe to say that Lotto and Bounds will probably be your starters at tackle for the season opener. But the guys behind him, I'm curious to see how that's going to shake out in training camp.
Yeah, a couple quick thoughts on tackle before we shift over to defense. Matthew Lotto, to me, has a lot to prove. You are being thrust into a very important position. You're protecting the blind side of the franchise, no Fafita. And we saw some shaky moments from him in games, but I think it would be helpful to you're playing this position, only this position. You're going to get all the reps. You've got a somewhat experienced guy next to you. And other more experienced players all across that line who can help you out. He certainly has the frame, right? I mean, he's 6'6", 318. He's gotten stronger, gotten more athletic, but man, that next to last play of spring ball, I didn't see who the defender was, but someone like bull rushed Lotto literally into Fafita, and Fafita went down. Like he was on the ground. And I'm sure there was a collective freak out among the coaches. Like, hey, you know what? That's it. We're good. Spring ball's over. Let's not run anymore. I think they ran one more play. It was a clock spike to end it. So Matthew Lotto, to me, has a lot to prove. He's got work to do, but like the frame is there.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's got the size and the length, and those things are really important. And the other guy I want to mention real quick is Nathan Hale, who is a transfer from San Jose State, who to me is kind of like Antoine Roberts, right? This is a veteran. There's system familiarity because there's some history with coaches. If it push comes to shove, we've got some emergency situation at tackle, we can plug this guy in.
Yeah.
He's going to know what he's doing.
And
so
I think
it's important to have guys like that.
And I take back what I said about Jackson Griffin being that guy, because Nate Hale, he's a redshirt junior. Like he's got experience playing college football for multiple years. So that's a great point on your part, Lev. I think that Nate Hale is definitely the official backup tackle for both sides. Okay. All right. Now let's move over to defense. Well, since we're talking about the trenches, let's talk about the defensive line. Defensive line, I mean, Danny Gonzalez rolls out a 3-3-5 defense, a lot of the time. So I'm trying to think the three defensive linemen that I like up front. I would probably say Mace Pesse. In the middle, you got Leroy Palu and then Trey Smith. Yes. Those three guys. And then also in that mix, you're going to add a Dominic Lalesio, who, according to Danny Gonzalez, has been the most improved defensive player, or at least the most improved defensive lineman for the Wildcats. And then, you're also going to add in some very interesting freshmen like Prince Williams and Keatron Harris, also Kaisi Lafitaga from American Samoa, who initially signed to play offensive line and then moved over to defense. Joe Salavea won that battle. And I think Joe Salavea is like, come on, man, I recruited him to Arizona. I think I have a say in what position he's going to play for the Wildcats. So I think that they have some really interesting pieces up front. And then, Julian Savianaya is just, just a guy that can play inside and outside, but he's definitely going to be playing inside. Just a guy that's just rock solid, just super built, and can clog up the lanes and get in the backfield. So I think this defensive line, Lev, there's a reason why they weren't really looking for guys in the transfer portal. They did get one, Victory Johnson from Cal Poly, who was a guy who had some serious offers coming out of high school, out of Cathedral Catholic in San Diego, and went to Colorado. Things did not work out well there. Went to Cal Poly, was pretty solid, and then is now here. And maybe the Joe Salavea magic dust can get Victory Johnson to become a really good player for Arizona. So there's some unique pieces up front. What do you think about the D-line?
Yeah. Zach Ciulepa is another one.
Oh, Zach Ciulepa, the big man in the middle.
Giant man from down under. Is he New Zealand or Australia?
See, okay, when he first got to Arizona, he was listed as a New Zealander. And then on his roster, it says Gold Coast, Australia.
Right.
And then Joe Salavea was talking about, this guy from Gold Coast, Australia. And so I've heard.
Right. We have never talked to Zach, so we will have to get the story,
because that's
his background. It is very important.
It's like,
yes.
Are you a Wildcat or a Sun Devil?
I was just going to say that exact same thing. You don't want to confuse Arizona and Arizona State, right? You want to just assume like New Zealand and Australia are the same, because they're not. Kevin Moore is one more guy who's going to be added to the mix, who's a junior college transfer. Yep. He's not here yet, but I assume that's someone that they think can play right away. So when we add all that up, that's like 8 or so guys, maybe 9 if you're including some of these true freshmen. It's going to be mix and match. Sometimes it'll be 4 down, sometimes 3 down, sometimes maybe only 2 down. We saw that look last year, kind of a 2-4-5 setup. I was super impressed when I watched those drills that they did at the start of the spring showcase, where they're like jumping over the pads and they're running and tackling those big donut things. Mace Pesse is a really good athlete.
Yeah.
For a big man. Like, I don't know how they found this guy, but I think, like, to quote Don Brown, I think he's a dude. I really do. I think he's going to have a breakout year up front, and he's going to become kind of like, as Danny likes to say, like a household name.
Yep.
Big time guy. Trey Smith coming back, similar to Tristan Bounds in a way, getting that extra year. This is a 6th-year player who does everything right. If he's healthy, should be a force on the edge. Now, do they have any guys, Justin, who are so good off the edge that like the offenses are game planning to stop them? That I don't know. It's sort of a, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts kind of thing.
Yeah.
With the D-line, where they're just going to different guys, different looks, different bodies, different styles, mixing and matching, giving you, funky formations. I don't know if there's that one guy who is just a menace off the edge, but I like the group as a whole.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a rock solid group for Arizona. And as long as they can stop the run, like there were 2 games in the middle of last year where Arizona could not stop the run, and that was BYU and Houston. And those 2 losses,
two of the 3 games they lost during the regular season.
Yeah. And so if Arizona stops the run, then we're talking about Arizona being right there in the Big 12 championship picture, maybe even the CFP. So if they don't hit one of those lulls, if they can stop the run consistently in this league, I think Arizona's going to be just fine.
The test will come right away. Week 2.
Yeah.
Week 2 at BYU.
Yep.
We'll find out right then and there. So linebackers, I guess we'll include all the kind of the edge outside guys and the inside guys.
Yeah.
All in one group. Okay, go for it. Yeah.
So Cooper, I think that the leaders of the group are Tay Brown and Chase Kennedy.
Yep.
They're both seniors, both guys that have been here for multiple years. They're going to be, the voices of the room. And then, they've also added a really good transfer from Memphis and Everett Rousseau, who's very athletic and can get in the backfield and make some plays. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Cooper Blomstrom from Georgetown, he is a stand-up linebacker, defensive end type, but he's 250 pounds, relentless, and I've seen him, bull rush some guys and make some plays. So those guys I think are going to be, really the leaders in the linebacker room, and then we'll see about Myron Robinson when he gets back from injury. I mean, he looks like a dude. I mean, I stood next to him, when the guys are drinking their Powerades and their fruit snacks, and it's the TV timeout, and they're just getting some good eats in. I stood next to Myron Robinson when they were eating their snacks, and I was very impressed with his build. Like, he looks like the legit power 4 linebacker guy that could maybe even play at the next level. So when he gets healthy, I think he is going to be a really, really good linebacker for Arizona. And then, Jabari Mann, he's a guy that made some plays last year too. He had that big pick 6 was against Baylor. And, he is a very athletic linebacker. He's got the running back background. So, he's, really good at seeing the field and just kind of diagnosing what the offense is doing. So I think, they got some really good options at linebacker, but I'd say, your top 2, Chase Kennedy, Tay Brown. That next group are the veteran transfers in Cooper Blomstrom and Everett Rousseau. And then the other guys, and one of them includes your boy, Dash Fafita,
Yes.
Lev. Jake Amanu 2.0, man.
Yes,
this
sir.
guy was making plays all spring long, and this guy has Lev so excited for the future.
He's like literally 5'7", and when you list him at 5'7", they didn't exaggerate in this particular case. Like 5'7", 186, and this guy's playing linebacker at a Power 4 school, but he's just one of those guys. He's shifty, he's smart, he's instinctive, he's aggressive. He's got to be super annoying to play against, and he's just every single practice he'd get in the backfield a couple times. You're just like, where did this guy? Maybe he's just, he's hiding back there, behind the big guys. So they're gonna find a way to use him, some form or fashion. Rousseau was really impressive this spring. I was surprised. I did not know what to expect from him. And even Danny said he's been better in space than he thought. So not just a pass rusher. I think Blomstrom is pretty much going to be a pass rusher. That's going to be his role. Chase Kennedy has evolved from that into a space linebacker.
Yep.
Like, he's going to be the other, when there's kind of 2 true space linebackers out there, he's going to be one of them. And Jabari Mann he did not participate in spring, but he was doing a lot of stuff off on the side. He looked really good. Like, his agility, his footwork, his speed, all that stuff seemed like to be in tip-top shape. Myron Robinson, like, more upside than anybody in that entire group, but coming off a major knee injury. It wasn't like just an ACL. It was like all the things, So long way back. Hopefully he'll be okay, because we saw glimpses of greatness from him last year, whether it was his speed or his toughness. Someone that they really, really like. So yeah, I like that group a lot. I think if they go to a 4 linebacker look, it's going to be Kennedy, Brown, Blomstrom, and Rousseau. Yeah, Rousseau is sort of, if they go to that 2-4-5 look ever, which they certainly did at times last year. Danny will throw a lot of different looks at you.
I hope I'm not putting him on blast, and I promise you I'm not. But I saw a play this spring where Dash Fafita puts Jake Griffin on his heels. Like Dash Fafita bull rushed Jake Griffin, and Jake Griffin actually kind of went backwards a little bit and got put on his heels. So Dash Fafita said is 5'7", 186. Jake Griffin, 6'5", 309. And Dash put him on his heels.
Low man wins, right?
Yeah.
It's all about leverage.
Yeah,
what an interesting little player he is. Maybe he just plays special teams this year. That's possible.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a game. There's going to be some play that he makes that's going to be like a game-changing play during his freshman season. Mark my words. And it's cool too that Noah Fafita gets to play with his brother, which he never got to do before because of the age gap. But Noah's in his 5th year, Dash in his 1st, and really really fun player to watch.
Absolutely. All right, Lev. This is maybe the most interesting position group to talk about because you're losing the draft picks that we just discussed at the top of this podcast.
Yep.
So Traden Stukes, Genesis Smith, Dalton Johnson, Michael Dansby, those guys are gone. 3 of those guys were longtime Wildcats, guys who combined to play 6,700 snaps. So Arizona, they had to go into the transfer portal and get a lot of guys, and they signed 8 defensive backs in the transfer portal. They also got 2 from the high school level. I'm really excited about Zaire Heiler. I think he has the length. I mean, he looks like Takario Davis and Ephesians Prysock. And I think that's a really good frame. Those guys were also, draft picks this year as well. And then Hannibal Navies, I had to do a double take when I saw him. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought that was Genesis. It looks just like him when Genesis was
another guy with a great frame.
Yeah. But the defensive backs that they added in the portal, some of those guys, we didn't see them this spring. Dalen Austin, Cam Chappa. We saw a lot of Quinn Olson out there at that high post safety, and he's a redshirt sophomore from Iowa.
And Malcolm Hartzog, by the time I got to spring practice, I only saw the last 6.
Yeah.
He was shut down for spring ball, right? So that's another transfer who we saw a little bit of.
Yeah.
All right. So you got to put your cards on the table here, Justin. Give me the starting 5.
All right. So starting 5 is going to be Javion Cole, Malcolm Hartzog, Gavin Hunter, Dalen Austin, and then Tyrese Boss.
Okay.
At corner. Yeah. And then behind those guys, you're going to see Dwight Boodle at cornerback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're going to see Zuri Watson, transfer cornerback from Howard.
Zuri Watson, by the way, I felt like he struggled for most of the practices I saw, and then he was the best defensive back in the showcase.
Yep.
So maybe the light bulb went on. Maybe things started to click for him a little bit.
Well, and also, I think about, some of the guys that it didn't go off for them in the spring last year, like Malachi Bailey, Cameron Barmore, and then all of a sudden,
really good point.
They get to training camp, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're just lighting it up. So maybe he's kind of like that. And he's also a guy that's got multiple years of eligibility, so still a young player. So yeah, I'll probably say those guys are your 2 at corner. And then I'm really curious to see what happens with Cam Chappa. Is he going to be a strong safety? Is he going to be a free safety? Right behind Dalen Austin. There's also Lee Millette from UConn. He's a veteran and a guy that's been around the block playing for the Huskies. So he's going to be, a player that's right there in that mix. And I think that's pretty much your 2 deep. And then also Dejon Hinton is coming back from injury too. And he's a guy that started in the Holiday Bowl, a guy that, is, if he's healthy, a pretty good player. But that's the thing. Can he stay healthy? That remains to be seen. So they've got some interesting pieces at DBs, but I think all those guys that we just mentioned are probably going to be right there in that mix.
Yeah, I think my guess is that Zaire Heiler is going to redshirt this year. He's another one who needs to get in the weight room and add some bulk. And they have so many veterans ahead of him at corner. That's probably a good developmental path for him. A name to just tuck away in the back of your heads is Jono Price. Jono Price was a corner, and they've used him a lot at safety during spring. And he made some plays. Like, he seemed more comfortable reading the offense and coming forward than he did when he was having to run with receivers and cover them. Like, I think it's non-zero chance that he ends up as the starting free safety. Let's put it that way. Maybe it's a really small chance, but I don't know. I just have a weird feeling about that one. And then the other thing I think that's worth bringing up is when those guys were healthy last year, the big three, like they never came off the field. I wonder if this year there's going to be more rotating because they have more guys and no one is as established as those guys were. You know, like when you would look at the snap counts, like it was always like Dalton, Traden, and Genesis, like played every single defensive snap unless something happened. I kind of don't think that's going to be the case necessarily this year unless they feel like it's important for continuity and communication for that to still be the case. Maybe Malcolm Hartzog is that guy if he's healthy, who's kind of got the resume to suggest that he could be one of those players.
And another guy that transitioned over from linebacker that got some reps at free safety is Matai Tagoai.
Yeah.
And he made some plays in the spring showcase, got in the backfield on a safety blitz. And I think his downhill mindset as a linebacker, if they could just coach up the pass coverage as a high post safety, you know, he could be a guy that gets right there in the mix. And like you said, Lev, I mean, they could rotate. And because of his linebacker background, they could have like the Matai package and just have him in on specific plays. I don't know.
He's 6'4", listed at 6'4", 200. So another one with a great frame. Very interesting experiment going on there with Matai Tagoai, who is a transfer from USC, another like big time recruit coming out of high school. So name to keep in mind. Remember, they moved Coleman Patman from safety to linebacker. So it's kind of a trade there. They said that Coleman, like it was hard for him to stay light enough, to be a DB. So linebacker might be a good spot for him. Again, you know, there's a lot of mixing and matching and experimenting and moving guys around by, you know, the mad scientist that is Danny Gonzalez. And it sure worked out well last year. That's for sure.
All right. Special teams, kicker.
Real quick. Yeah.
Michael Togata Medina.
Yep.
Punter Chase Ridley.
Done with special teams.
Hey, Drew Nicholson, starting long snapper.
Yep. I'll just say, I think they're going to be way better. Kicking game will be way better this year than last year. Period.
Yes. All right,
Yeah.
So, okay, we have questions from Andrew Wittes, and he said, what's the plan with Dash Fafita?
Yeah.
I think we discussed it. Red shirt, maybe special teams this year. I mean, he could play in 4 games this year and still red shirt. So
assuming the rules don't change.
Yeah.
Which they could. If they, and I don't know when it would start, if they do the 5-for-5 deal. For those who don't know, it would just be you get 5 years to play. You can play as many games as you want within that 5-year span. Can't play 6 years, can't play 7 years. No more waivers, no more exceptions. Like 5 years. If they implement that this summer, when will it start? Like, will it start with this current crop of freshmen, or will it start with like the next crop of freshmen? So that could determine how much someone like Dash Fafita plays. But I bet you he plays on special teams a lot and will occasionally play on defense in some sort of like third down package.
All right. How big is a tight end healthy room? This one comes in from Mo Payana. Or I hope I'm pronouncing Mo's name. Payana, hopefully. Hopefully I'm getting that right. But our guy Mo asked, how big is a healthy tight end room? In my honest opinion, after offensive line and QB, which is every offense, the tight end is the most important position scheme wise in Daye's offense. What are your thoughts? Well, I mean, that certainly showed with Cameron Barmore at the end of last year. So
it was not a healthy room at all last year.
No,
like it was banged up from the get-go. They lost Kellen Ford. They lost Tyler Powell right away. Somebody else.
Kean Burnett stepped away.
Kean Burnett stepped away. So that room like shrunk really fast. And Cameron Barmore played hurt down the stretch, had like a broken foot. Just played anyway. So I think it is big. I really do. I heard someone say this the other day. They were doing some draft analysis that like that second tight end, if he's a really good blocker, can really unlock a lot of things for an offense. And I think we both think they're going to play their 22 personnel package more this year, maybe because they have more options. So I think Mo is really onto something. I think it is a big deal. I think it is something that we will see this upcoming season because they have a lot more guys.
Two tight ends under center. Man,
what is this? It's kind of Rams. It's kind of Rams like, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very McVay.
Seth McVay, Sean Dagey. All right. That is it for our mailbag portion of the podcast, and I think that's it for this episode of the Wildcast podcast.
Yeah.
Good episode, Lev. Always appreciate you and your insights. Talking football with me. My guy Lev covering Arizona baseball. They're winding down the end of their season. Doesn't look so good for the Wildcats. Definitely a rebuilding year for Arizona, but they're concluding the regular season. So for all the latest on the baseball front, make sure you check out my guy Lev's coverage of the Wildcats on Tucson.com and the Wildcaster mobile app. And then, we've got some other great stories down the pipe to wrap up the school year. And then, I can't believe we're already in May, man. Almost halfway through 2026. And then, Lev, before you know it, training camp will be here. And we'll be talking about Noah Fafita's last year.
Yep. So I don't want to make any promises, but I'm going to try to get Bruce Pascoe on the pod next week to kind of catch up on men's basketball, take a look at the roster now that the dust has settled at least a little bit. So that is my goal. Bruce is, I don't know if he's taking time off or if he's busy or going out of town or whatever, but I'll pin him down and I'll get him on the Wildcast.
So you might have to kidnap Bruce. A huge thank you to our sponsor, the Pima Federal Credit Union. Whether you're saving for your first car, buying a home, or growing your business, Pima Federal puts your goals first. Pima Federal offers personalized solutions, competitive rates, and expert guidance every step of the way. Because at Pima Federal, banking isn't just about money, it's about you. Learn more at pimafederal.org. And also find more on Tucson sports, Arizona Wildcats, at Tucson.com. Make sure you get a subscription. You can also get a sports-only subscription by downloading the Wildcaster app, my preferred way of consuming content. Live updates, all the stories are updated. We got videos on there as well. Our podcast is there. We're sending out push alerts so you can stay up to date with all things Arizona Wildcats as they're happening. So download the Wildcaster mobile app off the App Store and Google Play. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys for listening and watching.